your life.
We're going to edit this in a minute. We're actually going to give everybody just a moment or two to get situated. So we're going to wait until right at the top of the hour. So I hope that you're having a good day. We're going to start here in just a minute. And if you have not downloaded the workbook for this class, then I invite you to hop over to waldorfessentials.com/Waldorf homeschooling. And I know that's a lot of vowels. I have typed it wrong many times this week, but yeah, Waldorf homeschooling. So if you don't have your workbook in front of you, it would be a good idea to at least download it so that you have it in front of you, even if you're not printing it out or using it in that way. We have like some question prompts through there that will sort of help you as we're going through the things that we're going to talk about. So go ahead and do that. It's almost 5, so we're going to give everybody just a few minutes to just get settled. So don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. We're just going to, and I also want to make sure that you know that you can always ask questions. As I'm going through this, we've got, it's going to break, Daddy.
I know, I noticed that the camera had reversed it.
Oh, I had reversed it.
So
The legs to our W fell on the floor. It's really sad. We need some wood glue. You got it? There you go. Yay. There, like magic, like nothing ever happened. Okay, again, if you're just joining us, go ahead and download the workbook that you can get. You can get it at waldorfessentials.com/Waldorf homeschooling. If you're joining us on Instagram, it's in our link tree, so you can grab it there if you want to hop over and do that. I think that it would be good to have it. And if you've not officially signed up for it and you'd like the replay for this, then you'll want to make sure that you sign up for it, because then I'll have your email address and I can send out the replay to everybody. This is something that, especially if you are new to Waldorf, not 100% sure that this is the route you want to go, but you want to be able to think on it. So this will be something you'll want to listen to again. And if you're catching it on Instagram, it will only be available till this time tomorrow. So you'll want to have the replay for that. And the only way to get that is to sort of send us that information. So are we about ready to start?
we are ready.
All right. Are you sure? Are we good? All right.
We are good.
Okay. I've got notes here because, yeah, I just do. I want to welcome you. I'm Melissa Nielsen with Waldorf Essentials, and I want to welcome you to tonight's class. We're going to be talking about, is Waldorf homeschooling right for you? We have a lot of families that are coming to homeschooling in general, and we've had a ton of questions about Waldorf lately. So we wanted to go ahead and make sure that we had a class where we could answer those questions. I want you to feel like you can ask questions if you're in the chat, either on Instagram, Facebook, or on YouTube. We're in all 3 places right now live. So I want you to feel like this is experiential. I want you to ask questions if you need to. I want you to feel like you can pretty much ask me anything. I'm pretty much an open book. If you don't know me very well, then I am going to invite you to check us out. Check out all of our free resources on waldorfessentials.com. We do a Monday morning show every week at 6 a.m. Pacific. And you can catch, and we do it at some Waldorf homeschooling. We're also parent coaches. We do a lot of parenting, partnering stuff. So, and inner work, we've been doing a lot of inner work lately. So if you don't know us in that capacity, feel free to join us right back here for Facebook and Instagram on Monday mornings, like I said, at 6 a.m. Pacific time. So again, housekeeping, if you have not downloaded the workbook, you'll want to go ahead and do that now, just so that you have it to go through as we, it gives you sort of an outline of what we're going to cover today. And so the workbook is at waldorfessentials.com/Waldorf homeschooling. And again, you don't have to print it out. I think it would be good though to have it sort of on hand. I put some extra questions in there to sort of like probe you a little bit about like whether or not, are you just going along, or are you really making some thoughts and some decisions? Because y'all, it's July. If you don't know what you're doing in the fall yet, now's the time to be deciding. So, okay, this will be recorded again, and as long as you're signed up to get the workbook, then you'll get the replay as well. So we'll go ahead and send out the replay probably this evening. So my first question for you is, are you excited and looking forward to having a fulfilling school year for you and your child? This is such an amazing journey, just homeschooling in general, that we actually get to do this, that we have this opportunity to be with our children and to really sort of be stewards over them and help them, walk this life and walk this path. And Waldorf homeschooling is just sort of another sort of addition on top of that. So I thought I would talk to you really quick about what we're going to cover tonight. And I will try to keep it right at about an hour, just because your time is really important to me. I know that a lot of you have, you've gotten a sitter, you've got dad helping, so you're pulled away from what you normally are doing. So I want to be really respectful of your time. And when we do have to cut things off, if you have more questions that I didn't answer, please feel like you can message me. You can always catch me in DMs on Instagram. You can catch me in PM on Facebook. And you can always message me, melissa@waldorfessentials.com. So today we're going to cover, is Waldorf homeschooling right for you? What is it? We're going to talk about how it's different from other methods, sort of what makes it different. We're going to dispel the top 5 myths that I get people questioning me about all the time. Like, really, isn't Waldorf about this? And I go, oh no, it's not. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what does it take to homeschool with Waldorf. And then I'm going to give you like my personal secrets, like what, I've been at this a long time. So I want to give you sort of those secrets about what I find to be the most encouraging, the most confidence building for your journey. So first of all, who am I? I'm Melissa Nielsen. My husband and I own Waldorf Essentials, and I have been a homeschooling mom for over 20 years. My oldest is 22, my youngest is 8, and we have done Waldorf homeschooling the whole way. I have one child, my second son, that in 10th grade he chose to go to high school, and that was an okay choice for us, and actually a great choice for him as well. So, I want you to know that I walk this path like every single day. Every single day I walk this path. So know that that you're talking to somebody who understands and somebody who gets it. I'm not just a curriculum provider. I'm somebody who's walked this path. Like I said, many families are coming to homeschooling and they're kind of trying to figure this out. We have a lot of legal stuff going on in the United States right now where people are rethinking whether or not they want to send their kids to public school or even a private school. And we also have families that have moved and they're trying to sort out, hey, what do? We don't know what we want to do for schooling in general. So we really want this to be sort of an open invitation for you to ask questions. And especially if you're brand spanking new, you've never homeschooled before and you're freaking out a little bit. But even if you have homeschooled before and you're just sort of thinking about moving over to Waldorf, and even if you homeschooled with Waldorf last year and you're wondering, why in the heck was it so hard? We're going to talk about that and sort of dispel some myths and sort of help you, walk away with, my hope is you'll walk away with a clear plan for what you want to do in the fall. So let's get started. The first thing is Waldorf homeschooling right for you? Like, what is it and what makes it different from other methods? So just at its base level, Waldorf is about age-appropriate material at the right developmental stages. So basically, if you think about, I'll give a public school example, and then also often what happens in homeschooling, if you're not homeschooling with Waldorf, you're sort of doing school at home. So it's whatever, often, not always, but often it's whatever they would also be covering in school, you're just doing that at home. So we're going to talk about that really quick. In public school, often in the United States especially, they cover American history from grades 3 to grade 5 every year. Sometimes same information, sometimes they focus on other things. Here's the deal. Those kids aren't ready for any of that information then. They're ready for that information at 5th grade and up. That's when it really sticks. And don't we want to save the time that we're speaking to our children and have it be about stuff that sticks? So why doesn't it stick? Well, developmentally, a 9-year-old isn't ready for the Trail of Tears, isn't ready for the Revolutionary War. They might be able to spout off, dates and things that they've memorized, but they are not emotionally ready for that content yet. They're not really emotionally ready for that content until later. So yes, you can have conversations about it, very, very age appropriate conversations about it. But I wouldn't dive into those subjects until they're ready, because I don't know about you, but I took a lot as a mom. I don't want to talk about things that aren't going to touch them yet. I want to save that for when we are really ready to cover it. And then when we're really ready to cover it, they dive in and they're excited. Like, especially if you're homeschooling. Have you ever taught a lesson and you thought, what the heck, why did this fall flat? And then later you realize, hey, they just weren't ready for it? Well, that's what Waldorf homeschooling sort of shows you. It sort of shows you the age-appropriate material and when is the right time for it. So when you can bring it in the right time, it's beautiful. They have a good time with it. You're on. You feel like, hey, I could teach this all day. They're eating it up. It's amazing. We're having a lot of fun. And when it's not right, you totally can feel it. It falls flat. And you wonder, does my breath stink? Does my hair standing up? Did I not sleep enough? Did I not bring enough to them? So you're second guessing yourself. So when you bring the appropriate material at the right time, you are maximizing their abilities, their brain capacity, and sort of your time with them. So that would be, I think, the number one thing. When somebody says, somebody will ask me all the time, what's your elevator pitch on Waldorf homeschooling? I'll say, well, that's really easy. Age-appropriate material at the right time. And then they think about that. And I have to tell you, often when I am doing research, I might sit in Barnes & Noble on the floor in the history section when I'm doing research for either writing or just for our own main lessons, more than one time, probably like 6 times that I can remember offhand. A history teacher, public school history teacher, has walked up to me and asked me what I was doing. Oh, are you another teacher? Where do you teach? Gives me the opportunity to say, well, actually, I teach the Waldorf method to homeschoolers. And then that opens the door. And as soon as I give that little bit, that American history bit from 3rd to 5th, they go, oh my gosh, I had no idea. I'm going to change how I'm teaching this year. Because they realize if they could dial in to that developmental stage, then they're going to bring those children exactly what they need. So there's some like rogue public school teachers out there that are doing some Waldorf stuff, thanks to me. So another thing that it does is it engages all the child's faculties, head, heart, hands. Now I know that that's sort of overused often in the Waldorf world, like what in the heck does that mean anyways? Well, I can tell you that what we know about the body, and this is science, you can go look it up, the heart and the brain both have neurons. You know, previously we thought that just the brain had neurons, but now we know that even though Steiner's work was from 100 years ago, we know that the heart also has neurons. So the heart and the brain have a connection and they work together. So when you bring the heart and the brain together and then the hands together and sort of giving, doing more for others, service, that kind of thing, then we have a child that is balanced. And the Waldorf curriculum really seeks to bring balance to children. So when you're looking at what you're sort of doing for the school year, or you look at what happened last year, ask yourself, do I really feel like my child got a head, heart, hands education? Because you can bring that to them with this method. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to interrupt me. Over there too, Daddy. Daddy's my little producer today. Okay, so these are the questions to ask yourself. Are you happy with your current method? Does it engage the whole child, or are you using worksheets and schooling for hours and hours each day? That is not my reality. It's just not. Do you feel like the content you're bringing is just not connecting? So if you answered yes to any of those questions, it's probably time that you really seriously look at the Waldorf curriculum. So now I'm going to step into 5 myths that often I get about Waldorf. And again, if you have questions, please just ask. I'm happy to go back and sort of backtrack and answer this for you. These are the top 5. Now listen, there's probably 20 myths. In fact, Eric and I were talking the other day, we should do some Instagram posts about the myths of Waldorf homeschooling, because there's probably, like I said, at least 20. And when we were narrowing them down today, I narrowed them down to 5, but I know there's more. So watch our Instagram. We'll probably put some more up, because I do think that people have some weird ideas. Often when we don't know about something, we make up things in our head. Like that happens all the time. Like how often have you made up something in your head and go, oh, wait a minute, that's not it at all. It's just because the mind kind of lies and it kind of gathers things from other places and you think you might know, but you really don't. So top 5 myths, here we go. And I'm going to say this is Waldorf homeschooling specifically. I'm not talking about Waldorf schools. And I'll sort of tell you where I deviate from that. The number 1 myth is that it's hard. It's so hard. There's so much to learn. I could never do it all. Guess what? You don't have to do it all at once. How do you eat an elephant? 1 bite at a time. Don't do it all at once. And when you have somebody that helps you and guides you on the path, then you can do what you need to do and you don't get overwhelmed. And when you do get overwhelmed, it's really nice to have a mentor or a community or somebody that you can sort of fall back on when you're struggling. So myth number 1, it's not hard. It is not easy, but I will tell you it's very simple. It's very simple. So, and we'll talk about that more in a little bit. Here's the myth number 2. I love this. And this is kind of twofold. The academics are late or it won't meet state standards. I love that one. Because here we go. Like people say to me, what's this about late academics? And I go, late? Like 7 is not late. They're babies before then. So really and truly, because we're not teaching 6-year-olds how to read or 5-year-olds how to read or 4-year-olds how to read, it sort of gets this idea of delayed academics. I don't see it as delayed academics at all. In fact, and this is where we will differentiate a little bit from the Waldorf school path. In the Waldorf school, a Waldorf teacher would tell you that the goal of grade 1 is not reading. But in the Waldorf homeschool, I will tell you that my goal is to help you get your child reading as quickly as possible. And by that, I mean before the end of grade 1. That happens, I would say, at least 85% of the time when you do it my way. It doesn't negate any of the Waldorf curriculum. It doesn't stuff things into them before they should have it or anything like that. As long as you are bringing a child that is ready, and by ready, I mean 6 going on 7, so closer to 7 than 6. My cutoff is usually you have a child that's not turned 6 by March, then you should wait and do another year of kindergarten. And if you're interested in that and really have questions about that, please just shout. I'm happy to answer those questions. And my cutoff is a little bit different than maybe some other coaches, but honestly, you really want your child to be the age of their grade for as long as possible in that school year. So the sweet spot is turn 7 somewhere between August and January or February. That's the sweet spot. Those kids are ready to go. They're ready. They're hungry. Did you have something over there, Daddy? Question? No. Oh, okay. Sorry. I thought I decided to do this. They're hungry and they're really ready for the curriculum at that point. Then you can sort of bring it to them and you have more of those days where you feel like you're on and you feel like things are flowing and things are great. When you're trying to bring it to them, and I have a lot of moms that message me and go, I'm trying to bring 100 easy lessons of reading to my 4-year-old and I'm wanting to know why it's not working. And I go, because your child is 4. Just play. Before that grade 1, have a good time. Especially if you're a lifelong homeschooler. There is no race to graduation. There is no race to reading. There is no race to be first. That is a societal myth. Have fun. We have an awful lot of fun. And I have adult children that are like contributing members of society. And we've had fun the whole time. We know people that have Waldorf homeschooled with us with our program, and their kids went to Yale. So guess what? This whole idea about it not being academically rigorous is garbage. Kids get into college all the time. It's not a big deal. In fact, and I will tell you too, because sometimes people say to me, well, we want to have the option for them to go to high school when they get there. So because we had a son that went to high school, as a Waldorf curriculum writer, I kind of held my breath because I thought this could go great. Or it could be really bad for me. It went phenomenal. It was probably the absolute best way that it could go. He stepped in 10th grade and my ex-husband, bless him, did not give them my transcript that I had written for him. So, I didn't know about that until he was in 11th grade and called me crying. But, he stepped in 10th grade, didn't miss a beat. Those teachers called me 2 states away to tell me what a well-balanced, flexibly minded child I had and how glad they were that he had come to them and really added to the classroom. No, he called me when he was in 11th grade crying, and this is why. It's because my ex-husband didn't hand in the transcript. So I sent the transcript to his class counselor, and he called me the next day and he's like, Mom, what did you do? I said, nothing. I just sent him your transcript, the one that I wrote that I thought that your dad turned in, like when you started school. He goes, I only have to take 3 classes next year. So because we had done all the work that we had and we had really fulfilled all that he needed for high school, they were glad to have him only have to take 3 classes the senior year. So really and truly, it sets your kids up. And one thing that I want to say, if you've got a child that is, say that they're 14 and they're like, I want to be a heart surgeon, and that's what they want to do. Well, yes, of course, you're going to stack in more sciences as they get older. Yes, of course, you're going to follow that trajectory for them because they're excited about it. And that, I would say, you can do next to the Waldorf curriculum. You do the Waldorf curriculum and then go, okay, let's go deeper here. The same with somebody who wants to go deeper into history as they get older because they want to be a history teacher or an archaeologist or something that really excites them. That's the beauty of homeschool. The beauty of homeschool is when they are lit up about something, you can run after them and just let them have a good time. And excuse me. So I want you to know, if that's like a question, that's such a huge myth. When people say to me, it's not academically rigorous, I go, what are you reading? Because it actually is. It actually is. In fact, one of the ways that I will tell you that it is more academically rigorous than some of the current public school curriculum is that children in Waldorf learn all 4 math processes the same day. They learn to add, subtract, multiply, and divide on the same day. And in public school, generally, they don't teach that. They don't teach them all together. And what happens when you don't teach them all together is you have children with fragmented information. And when they're fragmented, then they're always seeking more and more and more. They can never sort of figure out this math piece. So when you understand all 4 math processes working together, then on the first day, they know how to do it. Yeah, they need practice, and it's something you're doing consistently, but they're already ahead of their peers. They're already ahead of their peers because you're doing it consistently. Okay, let's see, what else? Number 3. This one I love. I can't do Waldorf because it's religious. I love that one because actually, yes and no is the answer to that. I want you to think about the cultures of the world. The cultures of the world are made up of indigenous people that had faith bases, that had beliefs, and then they took those things out to the world and they were disseminated among the rest of the population. So understanding somebody's faith or somebody's religion allows you to understand them. When we understand what makes people tick, when we understand what God means to them or what source means to them or what Allah means to them, then we understand them. We live in a culture now where we don't want to understand anybody. And that's a huge hindrance to children. So really and truly, when you can help your children understand the faiths of the world, it absolutely becomes a beautiful thing. And you don't have to worry about, oh no, if I teach my children about Judaism, are they going to want to be Jewish? Probably not. But you're going to have a great year learning about what your Jewish neighbors are doing. So that's really and truly where I want you to see this, like, is Waldorf religious piece. I will say, it's probably, if you're a diehard atheist, you're gonna struggle. Doesn't mean it's not for you, but you're gonna struggle. If you are, just a religion that's, maybe you're Catholic. We have a lot of Catholic families, and you want to learn about everything, but you really want to closely guard what you teach your children. Guess what? You're homeschooling. You can absolutely do that. Eric and I are Christians. We start every day with scripture study. And then we also meditate. All of our children meditate. We've taught them how to meditate since they were young. And we do both of those things. None of that interferes with the Waldorf curriculum at all. So I'm going to grab a couple of messages over here. Hey, I have to say really quick, my son that went to high school is actually on here watching. Hi, Jacob. Love you, bud. Okay, so let's see. Tess says, my challenge is that at times Waldorf seems unobtainable because it differs from how I was raised in the mainstream. I don't know how to knit or sew or make lots of things with my hands, zero media, etc. I always feel like I'm failing. Well, honey, I got to tell you, no judgment for me. I want to ask you, because I think this is a really, really important question to ask yourself. Do you want to continue to feel like you're failing? Or do you want to make a decision to learn how to do those things? Because here's the thing that I know. Anything when you're first learning seems overwhelming. Think back to when you learned how to ride a bike or when you learned how to drive a car. My gosh, when you learn how to drive a car, you have to remember, I remember my mom screaming at me, which is so not helpful, Mom, if you're listening, yelling at me. You can't use both feet. One foot's for the gas. One foot's for the brake. Don't do that. Both feet are, one foot is for both. And so I remember having to you probably do too, take yourself back to that place. Remembering, okay, I can't use my left foot. I can only use my right foot. Unless I have a stick, then I got to use the right foot or the left foot. So you have all these things you have to remember. And guess what? It's super overwhelming. Super overwhelming. But you figured it out, right? You figured it out. How did you figure it out? Well, you did it a couple of times. And then by the time you were 16 and a half, or you've been doing it for 6 months or so, you're like, hey, this driving thing is easy. I'm going to turn on the radio. I'm going to do some text messaging. I'm going to look at my neighbor. You're going to do all those things because you shouldn't be doing the text messaging. But you're going to do all those things because you're good at it then. You took the time and you learned how to be great at it. And so now you can just do it. Guess what? Waldorf is the same. It's absolutely the same. When you are overwhelmed by all the pieces, it means you don't have the right guide. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes too. So let's see, I've got some questions over here. Charlene says, me either. I just make it even if it looks crazy. Good for you, Charlene. I think that's great. I have to think about, Jacob's over here on the other side. He could probably attest to some of my knitting fails. Think about the first horse I made. And I remember it seemed so hard. It seemed so hard. And I have to tell you guys, I lived in Idaho. There were no other Waldorf homeschoolers around me. The first time I went to my local yarn shop to get some help, you know what she did? She ripped out 3 inches of my sweater that I was working on. And I was mortified. But guess what I learned? I learned how to not have those problems in the future. That's how we learn. Okay, so let's see. Elizabeth says, I do struggle sometimes, especially when reading guides, and then it says, seek the Spirit or God, because I don't have faith. Faith as a support or pillar. So my question for you would be, and this would be for anybody that's either agnostic or really struggling with that piece. Do you know that, do you have an experience of meditation? And if not, I would say to you, try it. Because meditation will save your bacon. And it doesn't matter. You're not sitting there. You don't have to, be prayerful in your meditation. Just being open in your meditation. And if you meditate, and if you caught our video on Monday, we talked about this, meditate with your hand over your heart and get very still and very clear on what it is that you're looking to accomplish. When you put your hand over your heart, it activates those neurons and it gets everything flowing and you can get in that space. So if you are not taking that time to meditate, I'm going to talk about inner work a bit more here in just a minute. If you're not taking that time to meditate, you are robbing yourself from goodness. Doesn't matter what your faith is. I haven't always been Christian. I grew up Catholic. I spent my 20s, the majority of my 20s as a pagan, practicing pagan, searching, trying to figure out what was right for Melissa. And at the time I had 3 kids trailing behind me. I was so trying to figure it out. And I found something that works for me. I found something that's a path for me. And that's great support. But honey, I know what it's like to not have it. If you have not read our book, 108 Days, go read it. It's free in the resources section on our site. Read it because it was written for moms like you, for moms that struggle, and for moms that are trying to figure out that source piece. You don't have to believe in order for something to be true. And what's the saying? Just because it's water doesn't mean it's going to make you wet. I love that saying because just mentioning it doesn't mean it's going to make you believe. It'll be okay. Okay, so let's see. Oh, I like this one too. Isn't Waldorf just about gnomes and fairies? That one's my favorite. I'm yeah, in kindergarten. And maybe a little bit in first grade. And if you're still using the math gnomes in second grade, then I suppose I have to say my oldest son, autism spectrum, amazing human being. He used his math gnomes for a long time. He carried his math gnomes around a lot, but that was him. So, Waldorf is not about gnomes and fairies, especially once you start into the actual content. It definitely is when you're talking about kindergarten. In fact, our best-selling kindergarten curriculum follows the Gnome Super Sound for 2 years, 2 full years, and you get to know him, and you get to know what he cooks, and you get to know his friends, and you get to know all those things. So yes, absolutely. Now, I will say I have had some conservative religious families say to me, I don't know how to approach that. I don't believe in gnomes and fairies. And so then I sort of challenge a little bit and go, do you ever talk about mermaids or dragons? You don't have to believe those things are real in order to talk to your children about having stories about them, because they are stories. And children need that fun imagination space when they're little, because this is when I know, having raised 5 children, well, I'm still raising 2, but having had 5 children, when you give them a place to jump off from, they'll stick to it. They might not stick to it 100% all the time, but it's in them and they know it. So don't be so worried about those things. Don't be stressed out about those things. Okay, and then let's see. Where was I going to say? The last one is that it's not rigorous. We actually kind of talked about that one. Back at state standards. Somebody else said to me, it doesn't meet the state standards. Actually, it does. Because here's the deal about the state standards. I did extensive research on the state standards a few years ago because I really wanted to make sure that the state standards, at least for the United States, and by that I mean the Common Core specifically, I really wanted to be sure that whatever I was suggesting that you do within our curriculum, that it actually could be done by the standards. So here's one thing that a lot of people don't know. The Common Core is both a standard and a curriculum. Most states that say your teaching has to adhere to the Common Core are talking about the Common Core standard. They're not talking about the curriculum. So if your state says you have to adhere to the Common Core standard, or you have to adhere to the Common Core, or you have to teach what they would teach in the schools, they usually don't give you you have to teach exactly what they teach here or exactly what they teach there. And even with that, we can get around that. But what I will say is that when appropriately applied, the Waldorf curriculum meets the state standards. It will probably feel maybe a little bit weak, but I don't think so. I really, truly don't think so in grade 1. And so what I generally say to people is, if you can get away with not testing in first grade, that's a great thing. And the reason being, you want to get them good and strong about reading. And one thing I will tell you about children that learn to read this way, I have been blown away. I've watched my own children do it. Now child number 5 is reading, and we've watched each step. My children read better than their counterparts do. Why? Because of the way we did it, because of the way we took the time, because of the way they made relationship with each of those sounds. And it was really interesting to me. About 10 years ago, we had moved into a new congregation, and in our congregation, they do this program every year where the children have to read something and then they sing some songs. And we had just moved in, so I really did not expect our children would have a part in any of this program. I figured we would just be along for the ride because we had just moved in there. I was surprised. Because after 2 weeks of having my children in their Sunday school classes, teachers came to me and said, we're going to take parts that we had given heavily to some other children and give some to your children because they're such good readers. Not only that, they memorized things. They memorized things that then they didn't have to read it. So really and truly, this is incredibly rigorous if you allow it to unfold the way it's meant to be. Doesn't mean you're pushing them, doesn't mean you're freaking out about them not doing this or that. I mean, you're open and you're very much sort of supporting that space as they are unfolding. Okay, I've got a couple of comments over here. I worry that I'm not a strong enough artist. My son has already been in Waldorf school for 5 years and is light years ahead of me. Unfortunately, a Waldorf school might not be available to us this year. How can I help him forward? Well, I would learn for sure. And we're going to talk about our program in a little bit, but you need a program that helps you get ahead. And I think you absolutely can get ahead. We have moms that bring kids home from Waldorf schools all the time and have the exact same struggles. exact same struggles. So basically what you do is you make sure that you do the work and you get ahead. And what I usually recommend is get really good at one thing and then bring another thing in. So maybe it's painting. You really want to get good at painting. Dive into painting yourself in that time when you are up before your kids in the morning. And if you're gasping like, oh my gosh, I never get up before my kids, and you listen to some of our other work. But in that time when you're up before your kids in the morning, you're painting, you're figuring it out, you're sorting it out, you're looking at videos. We have a lot of videos on our stuff. You're going through, you're getting help, you're using the resources at your disposal to learn. And then he's going to be like, what? Who taught you to paint? Your biggest challenge with your child coming home from Waldorf school is, my teacher does it like this. So this is what you have to say. I understand, and I love you to pieces, but I am a teacher now. So we're going to do it like this. And that will be hard at first. But if you can have a really good agreement about it before school even starts, then it will be a beautiful year for you. Just trust yourself. Okay, let's see. Moving right along. Okay, so what does it take to homeschool with Waldorf? So really, I'm going to tell you, it doesn't take anything special. You just have to decide. You have to decide, hey, yeah, this is what I want to do. I want to sort of walk forward. I want to do this. I want to bring this to my child because this is exactly what lives in me and what I want to bring forward. And that, again, it's not going to be for everybody. There are going to be some moms that are going to think this is just too hard. Now, if you're that mom, message me. I'll talk you away from the edge. Because here's the alternative. In Waldorf, and I sort of mentioned this earlier, my day is not crazy long. It's not. Because we cover more ground in less time. Because we're not teaching all the subjects in one day. We're teaching one subject that encompasses several subjects often. So for instance, in history, you'll cover history, reading, writing, all at the same time. So you have less that you have to do. And like lesson-wise. And while there is planning that has to happen at the front end, the planning will nourish your soul as much as it does theirs. So really and truly, if you're ready to do something different, if you're ready to really take on an amazing journey, it is definitely a different way of thinking, but you can do it. Think about something that maybe you were already weird about with your family. I love that people say to me, well, if it's weird, I go, yeah, compared to what? So I am a mom of 5 with children that I breastfed, all of them, did natural births with as many as possible, breastfed until they were ready to wean, cloth diapered them, all the things. So if you're on that track at all, you're already weird. It's okay. Embrace it. Embrace it and decide, you know what? This is another step for me. And if you didn't do any of those things, and you're like, I don't know if I can join your weird club because I didn't do any of those things. That's all right. You come play anyway. I'll teach you. That's part of what I do. That's my job. That's part of what I do. Okay, so my personal secrets. So I hope you're writing this down. Take the time to cultivate peace at home. So that means that you know when bedtime is for yourself and your children, that you know what you're eating every day, and you know what you're doing every day. Those are huge. And if you're thinking now, oh my goodness, I don't know any of those things, then you need us more than you think. Let's see, I've got some messages over here. With regards to schooling, taking less. Yes. What's your question with regards to that, Miss Tessa? It really shouldn't take a ton of time. Like even when I had 4 main lessons and a toddler, we were done by 2. Some days we went a little bit longer because, some kids like to be pokey, but in general, we were always done by 2. And we started around 8 or 9. So now we start the day with a walk, first thing, like 7:30, come back and eat breakfast. We do our morning scripture study, those kinds of things. We meditate, get sort of centered together as a family. And Dad goes off and does his thing. He works here home with us. And I know that's not everybody's reality, but that's our special reality that we created. I teach school, and we're usually done pretty darn quick. And it all comes together. I am incredibly impressed with the intelligence of my children. Incredibly impressed. They are smarter than me all the time. Let's see. Thinking of homeschooling my 3-year-old, kind of lost and anxious about it all. How many hours a day do I need to spend with lessons and teaching? None for a 3-year-old. Hear me. None. Right now, your job is to get your rhythm in order and to learn how to do all the things. That's your job right now. All the things being painting, drawing, modeling, knitting, all of those things. You best not bring curriculum to that child. No, I'm teasing. I know that this is different for a lot of people. They go, wait a minute, but my 3-year-old is behind. Your 3-year-old is not behind. Your 3-year-old is exactly where your 3-year-old should be. And you are exactly where you should be. So definitely we have a lot of moms that join our program that I'm going to talk about in a minute that come when their kids are really young. We have some moms that just barely have infants that come because they are ready to learn and they want to spend the time to learn and be all ready when it's time. And that truly is a blessing when you can come to this early. Truly, truly is a blessing. But it allows you to really have the space to learn everything that you need to learn and to just relax. Relax. Breathe deep, especially if you're holding any tension. All of you, just breathe deep. Just breathe deep. Okay. Tessa says, sorry, taking less time, but my state requires a specific amount of hours, so it is a stress to me that I'm not doing enough. I have a question for you, Miss Tessa. Have you ever tried to keep your child from learning? Just try. Just try. No, you can't learn anything today. I'm sorry. You just can't. Don't go trying to learn anything. Don't. It's not happening. It's not happening because you learn all the time. You learn when you take them on a walk and you're on a nature walk. You learn when, you're at the store and you're talking about like groceries, budgeting, all of those things. You learn when you have to navigate a relationship and you help them navigate their relationships. You learn when they're reading aloud to you. You learn when you are, you learn when you're talking about something that maybe an older child heard in the news and they're asking you questions. There are so many opportunities to learn through your day that have nothing to do with a textbook and paper. Nothing. So stop stressing. Take a deep breath. Be a teacher. You're a homeschooler. Embrace it. Make your own rules. It's all good. It's all good. So let's see over here. Elizabeth said, we have had siblings get on each other's nerves lately, and I don't know if it's the ages, but they are all flustered. How did you do 4 main lessons a day? Okay, first I would suggest, Elizabeth, if you have not already, look at our work on schooling several children in the resources section. So, and if Jacob's still here, he could attest to it. But when we had 4 main lessons in a toddler, we actually had 4 main lessons in an infant for a while, then she was a toddler, I rotate everybody. So that's part of what I teach. I teach families how to rotate. I teach you how to make sure that you stack your main lessons and that you are absolutely bringing content that they need. And in that rotating process, everybody gets what they need. We have a mom in our program that has 8 children. 8. And she rotates. It can be done. In Waldorf, we bring a different main lesson to each child. So there's not a lot of grouping. And the reason being, again, it's different material for each age group. And yeah, it might be easier to just slap something together and teach them all at the same time. Guess what? That's not your job. Your job is to bring great material to them. Have a good time with it. The sweetness that comes from connecting with your child through a lesson and knowing that they actually learned it and took it in is irreplaceable. You can't replace that feeling. You have a hard time doing that when you have 4 of them and they're all learning at different levels and you're trying to make sure that they're all have this assignment and that assignment. Don't do that. Don't do that. The only time I ever say couple kids together is if you come to Waldorf later and you're trying to catch up on some things. But otherwise, I don't group children together. I don't. And there are some other coaches that might say, do that. I've been at it longer. Don't do it. Don't do it. Okay, so let's see. Okay, here's my other tips. So I sort of stopped on that, and that's okay. Ask as many questions as you want. Do you have any questions over there?
Nope.
Are we good? All right. So take time to plan your lessons. If you struggled this last year and you're trying to figure out why it fell flat, it's probably because you didn't plan enough. So I know I'm a little obsessed with planning. This is why I'm obsessed with planning. I'm obsessed with planning because planning works. And if you do what I tell you, guess what? You'll have a great year. I promise you that. If you do it the way I tell you to, you will have a great year. If you want to argue and push back at me and go, no, I don't want to do this. Well, you go on ahead and do it your way. Guess what? Next year, you're going to come to me and go, help me, because I don't want to have another year like that. So I teach women how to plan, like really, really, and truly plan. And that's more than just writing down what you think you're going to do next month or what you think you're going to do next week. It is fully planning your year so that you can breathe, and you're not stressed out. And you're not waking up in the morning panicked. Oh, I didn't get any school planning in. Don't do that. Why would you do that to yourself? Like, why? Like, if you saw somebody who was continually stabbing themselves with a knife and you said, stop stabbing yourself with a knife, and you go, I just don't know why I'm doing it. Stop it. Stop doing that. Come and do it my way. I promise you, it will be the biggest breath out you've ever taken. And you will wonder, what in the heck was I doing the rest of the time? I teach you how to do it, like really in depth. And I hold your hand when the group is not enough. So absolutely, you got to plan. Because you know what? Teachers plan. So if you're walking around telling people that you're a teacher, you better put on that full mantle. Teachers plan. Teachers don't wake up that morning unless they're a substitute and they're praying that the other teacher left the lesson plan. Teachers don't get up like that. Teachers plan. Okay. And my last biggest secret is to go within and do the inner work. Understanding myself is key to all of my homeschooling. Because when I know about me, when I understand myself, then I can also work to understand each of my children. And I can work to sort of meet them where they are. But if I don't understand myself, I'm not understanding them. So if you are really struggling with your kids, I would ask yourself, what do I need to know that I don't know about myself? Ask yourself that. And really step back and listen to the answer. Because it might just be that you have to dig a little deeper than you've been willing to dig so far. But it will be the sweetest, the absolute sweetest time that you'll ever have. The more you know yourself, the more you'll know your children. The more you know yourself, the more you know your partner. The more you know yourself, the higher you will fly and the farther you will go. But you have to know yourself. You have to take the time. So those are my secrets. So you're still here with us? I'm going to tell you how to get started on this. And I want to tell you that whether or not you come and join us, it would be great if you did. I think you'll have a great time. You will do things that you never thought you'd do. And if you're thinking of clicking away now because you think you know what the price is, guess what? Hang on until I'm done. So if you are thinking, I'm just going to walk away and breathing on this, and I don't think I need what she's got, that's fine. Consume our free resources. Follow us on Mondays. I hope you got something out of this. But if you're really and truly ready to take on that mantle of being a teacher, and you're really and truly ready to dive deep and really harness your rhythm, really understand yourself, and get planning going the way it needs to be going, then stick around. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about our program. So we have our program called Thinking, Feeling, Willing, and we've had that program for about 7 years now. We have taken over 1,000 families through that program. And that program has allowed families to teach this method in ways that they never imagined before. And beyond that, because our program is more than just about teaching and more than just about the curriculum, those families are seeing great strides in relationships in their life because we infuse a lot of mindset and a lot of relationship coaching within our program too. Because homeschooling isn't just about you and your child. It's about the whole family unit. And if that's not getting along, everybody's struggling. So we talk a lot about that. So we start with mindset, and we really deal with a lot of like, oh, I can't do rhythm. Oh, I can't figure that out, or rhythm doesn't work for me. Trust me, If it doesn't work for you, you haven't done it my way. I promise you, you haven't done it my way. You've not figured it out. You've not, if you're really still struggling with those pieces, like, gosh, I can't figure that out. I'll help you. That's what we do. That's what we do in our program. So I wanted to tell you that on our program, we have, because a lot of people will message me and say, I was with so-and-so and the program was okay, but I really want a hard copy curriculum. Our program actually provides hard copy curriculum. We have our Planning for Peace journal that we teach you how to plan, and we send a copy of this every year when when you're ready to teach your kids. And we also provide hard copies of the curriculum. That's part of our program. Because I know some people are addicted to books. I might be one of them. I like books. When we moved from Utah to California, I don't know how many books I got rid of. It was really kind of sad, but it's all good. It's all good. So we have hard copy curriculum. Our program covers these things: rhythm, understanding the Waldorf curriculum, inner work and understanding temperament, which regardless of your faith base, you need to understand those things. Handwork, like all the handwork, all the things. We teach all the things. Music, form drawing, painting, block crayon drawing, modeling, movement, festivals, all those things that seem like they are huge to Waldorf and you just can't even figure out where to start. See, we take you through all of that. And what's great about it is I don't just set you loose. I don't just set you loose and expect you to do it. So I work with our group every week. Every week I'm in office hours. I'm there for their help, for them to get help. Excuse me. We have a support group that's not on Facebook. It's an off Facebook support group that we totally own. So Facebook doesn't own it. We're not on there. We're in this private space where we have so many members that are giving each other help every day. I'm in that group. I help because at the end of the day, I'm still a homeschooler myself. So all the things that I tell you to do, guess what? I do them, and that's how I know that they work. So our program has a continuing support group, and the option that I'm going to talk to you about tonight is our lifetime option, and you have access to it for life. You get all the curriculum, all of it, all of it. Is kindergarten included? Yes. Is 6th grade included? Yes. Is middle school included? Yes. What about high school? I'll help you with that. All of those things, yes, included. So at one price, and we add to it continually add to it. We added so much this year. We added a whole module on teaching your child to read, like a whole module. It was something that came up again and again and again. And so we added a whole module on teaching your child to read. We have a whole module on writing your own Waldorf curriculum. If you like ours, but you're like, hey, I want to do my own thing. Well, so we teach you like the why, the how, the what, how to meet your state standards, all of that. We teach you that. We also have our Thrive program, which is a marriage and family program that's only available through Thinking Feeling Willing right now. So, and Eric and I run that together. So there are things that you can get in this program that you can't get anywhere else. You could part some things out. You could get some painting help over here, and you could hunt for hours and hours on YouTube and get some help over here for planning. And you could, figure out block crayon drawing on your own, sort of, and hope that you're doing a good job. Or you can come and get all of it in one place. All of it in one place, one price, and you have it all together. So Eric is going to put the link in the YouTube, and I'm going to just tell y'all what it is here. So the price is lower through Sunday. Through Sunday, you can get the program for $550. And there's some payment options. If you're thinking, hey, I'd really love to do that, but I just can't choke that down. There's PayPal credit. There's one option there. And PayPal credit generally lets you break it down over 6 months with no interest. So there's that. There's also, we have a 2-payment option as well. So, and we don't really talk about this option very often, but there is also an annual option. The annual option doesn't include everything that the lifetime option does, but that's available as well. So you can get that at waldorfessentials.com/TFW-class.
Yes.
TFW-class. So If you have questions, I would love to hear them. We are here and ready to answer any questions, and we'll have the replay up for this later if you want to listen to it again. I think that if you are really trying to figure out where it is that you want to go with your homeschooling, you'll want to listen to it again and again because it really does help you get some clarity. I also want to encourage you not to overthink. Often what happens is we think something sounds really great and then we go, oh, but what about this and what about that? And what about... Stop overthinking. Your children need you to make a decision right now. If you have not decided what you're doing in the fall, you need to decide very soon. We've been planning with our members since April, and I'm going to have a special planning for all of our new members to catch everybody up that's not been planning. I'm going to have a special planning session sometime a week after next. So like the last week in July, but you have until Sunday to take advantage of this price. And if you have questions, I want you to feel free to ask me. That's what I'm here for. And I truly hope that you got something out of tonight, that you were moved by something that I said to help you understand this journey a little bit more. And if you have questions, like I said, always happy and available on DM for Instagram, PM for Facebook. You can always message me if you're catching us on YouTube. You can always message me through YouTube Messenger. I'm there for that. So please, I hope you have a wonderful night. I hope this was good for you. And I hope to see you in our program because it's an amazing program. I really think you'll have a good time and you will be over the moon at what you have available to you. So if you have a wonderful night, and we'll see you guys later.